Simon McBride. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Oh, thanks very much for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
I gather you're at home in Ireland.
Yes, I'm back home for a couple of weeks. Yeah, just back home in sunny Ireland, as they say, for a couple of weeks, enjoying the rain. But yeah, back home for a few weeks, and then I'm away off again for another 6 weeks, I think, with the Purple guys. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's all go.
yeah, you're on tour with Deep Purple. That came about fairly quickly. How much rehearsal time did you get?
Yeah, it's kind of well, I kind of known about it for a while, but so off and on. Well, I kind of know most of this stuff anyway from playing it with Don or Ian Gillan in the past. So, um, but we had a good lot of rehearsal time. We spent a week in Germany rehearsing as a band, doing it before we set out on tour as well. So, which was good to do. So, um, but yeah, it's good. It's as I said, I knew most of it before anyway, so it was kind of wasn't too complicated for me just to learn everything that was involved. So, but yeah,
Yeah. Any news from Steve Morse and his wife? How they're doing?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything really from Steve in a while. I'm guessing things are pretty much the same. I don't ask him too much about his personal that condition. It's
Yeah.
his personal thing. So I don't get too involved. So um, but yeah, I hope she's doing better. I hope so. I know what it's like. Firsthand of dealing with a loved one that has cancer, and it's not nice for anybody. So my thoughts are always with them.
Yeah, and ours too. You're based in Belfast, where many legendary bands have come from, many great guitarists. Which Irish guitarists did you look up to growing up?
I would probably say mostly Gary Moore. There's lots of, as you say, yeah, there's lots of great players from Ireland and stuff, but yeah, Gary was always kind of just, I don't know, just always on my radar. I just loved the way he played, his aggression, his feel, his technique, his songwriting, everything about him. I just thought was just great. He was just one of those, aliens, if you want to call them, of the planet, where he just unique, and just such a great player. No matter what he played, whether it was rock, blues, or even fusion stuff, he just it was never there was never a bad version of any of it. It was all amazing what he did. So, well, there's Gary and Thin Lizzy. I liked Thin Lizzy a lot, as well when I was a kid. But yeah, I would say Gary is probably the main one. That's it.
Yeah, Irish music has a history of epic sounding music, from Thin Lizzy songs like Emerald and Massacre, and Gary Moore, Out in the Fields, Over the Hill and Far Away, early U2 even, and now Simon McBride. Where does that sense of grandeur come from, do you think, in Irish music?
Um, I don't know, to be honest. I think it's in the water. I don't know. We get enough of it. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I think there's just 'cause, being such a small country, in comparison to everywhere else. I think we feel the need to fight that bit harder to get somewhere. Because it's a funny thing. There's always something to be said about musicians who come from countries which are smaller, like the UK in comparison. Is or England, sorry, is really small in comparison to most countries in the world, and but some of the best music has come out of it. And Ireland's kind of similar, as you said. You've bands like U2 and stuff, one of the biggest bands in the world. Yeah, it's just it's nice to be used in the same sentences as all those players that you've talked about. I don't really think about it too much. I just play guitar and do my thing and just make music, and that's all. I suppose that's what any musician does. It's just about enjoying what you do, and I think that's the big thing with it all. And I let everybody else worry about all the other politics, if you want to call it. So yeah.
So, what do you consider to be your turning point? The moment you went from playing at home to becoming a professional player?
Well, it was a weird thing for me because I've kind of been thrown into the deep end since I was a kid, since I was like nine or I started when I was 9 or 10 or something like that. But I was a very fast learner. So I was able to play, a lot of really technical things like Van Halen stuff for Satriani stuff by the age of 12 and 13. I was very fast at learning stuff. And so I was doing a lot of TV shows and stuff like that, and by 13, and then I won UK Guitarist of the Year when I was 15, and then I joined the first kind of real touring band when I was 16. So I'd probably say when I was about 16 when I was doing the Sweet Savage stuff, because I did a couple of records with those guys, and I was doing gigs and stuff. So that's probably I would consider you know my first professional thing that I was doing, because after that I was just constantly doing other stuff. Like I moved on from Sweet Savage to playing with Andrew Strong from the Commitments, and for about 5-6 years, and then I did a few other projects, you know, and then everything just kind of spiraled on, So yeah, quite a young age I've been at it from.
Yeah. So I imagine you would have made it to Australia with Andrew Strong.
No, I've never been to Australia. Andrew does tour Australia a lot. I know, but I think he just is like a lot of artists do, and they kind of have a band in Australia because it's like, the logistics of getting from here to Australia is a lot of money and a lot of cost, and plus work visas and all that sort of thing. So sometimes it's easier for likes of Andrew, who's a solo artist. He just uses a band in Australia, and they're all great musicians from what I can hear. So yeah, but I've never been to Australia. I've always wanted to go, so maybe someday I'll get there.
Yeah. Well, maybe you will be coming with some success with your new album, The Fighter. Um, was that a pandemic project, or was that something you'd sort of finished before all of that?
No, this was ready to go, ready to be released just before the pandemic hit. It was just really bad timing. This album I had it ready to go. It was supposed to be released in 2020, but sure, we all know what happened in 2020. That was it. We all thought it was the end of the world. But yeah, no, this album was in the making for about 4 or 5 years. I started writing it about 5 years ago. I had most of the songs done. 2 years probably after that, and then I recorded it and it was ready to go. And so yeah, it's a new record for me, but it feels old because of you know because of that 2 year gap now. Where we didn't do anything. It was probably the wisest move because we decided not to release it over the COVID period because today's industry, you have to release an album and you have to tour it. That's just the way it is. It's if you want to make any sort of or do any sort of decent promo with it and promote the thing, you have to tour it and play it. Um, so, and I was like, well, what's the point? Just hold off on it for another couple of years or whenever. We didn't know at the time when it was going. We thought it might have been a year. It could have been 2 years, 3 years, but thankfully, it's only been 2 years. So yeah, well, gigging wise, hopefully we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't planned anything this year for my own stuff because a couple of reasons. One, well, at the start of the year, we still didn't know what the situation was with the pandemic and how it was going to go, and I didn't really plan too much. I kind of focused more of my attention for let's work on 2023. Um, so, but it all seems to be getting back to normal, which is brilliant. And plus, I'm busy otherwise. I've got I'm busy the rest of the year pretty much with Deep Purple, so which is which is amazing. So yeah, my life is a bit like organized chaos at the minute, with lots of my album coming out and PR and Deep Purple stuff and PR for that too. So it's all good. I ain't complaining. This is what I signed up to do in the first place. So yeah.
Yeah. So why did The Fighter become the title track?
The record company chose that. It's a funny thing, because all the song titles and their meanings, I never really thought about them until, as a whole collective thing until I was sitting down looking at the titles and I realized this is like most of my life. you know. And people ask me all the time, "Am I the fighter?" And I'm gonna say, "Well, yeah, I kind of, I've fought to get where I am my whole life. As I said earlier, I come from Ireland, small little country, and I don't live in LA, I don't live in London, so it's always harder for somebody like me to try and break through a little bit. So I've fought my whole life to try and get where I am, and I suppose the fighter was the perfect choice. As I said, the record company chose it, and but that's a good thing about having a label. They can see things that I don't. They maybe look at from the outside. I'm too close to everything, and so they chose the title. And but yeah, the fighter is really it's one of those songs. It's just about as I said, fighting for what you want, never giving up, whether it's in the music industry or whether you're a swimmer, like the video I did for it, or whatever it is. If you have a goal, just keep fighting and you'll get there at some point. So, but yeah, I thought, and plus, it's a cool name for an album, I thought, anyway. So I was like, well, that works.
The album closes with The Stealer, the Free track. Where does Free and Paul Kossoff fit into your DNA?
I was a massive, well, I am a massive Free fan. I loved everything about them, from, Simon Kirk, Andy Fraser, Paul Rogers, Paul Kossoff. I thought they were just an amazing band, just so many great talents, and they all just worked really well together. So I loved everything that Free have done ever, and Bad Company too, to be honest. Massive Paul Rogers fan. I always wanted to try and sing like him, but I never can. But that's just the way it is. um, yeah, Paul Kossoff, great player, very simple and but lots of aggression and lots of emotion with his playing. I'm kind of drawn to players like that who are more expressive, and that song, The Stealer, I've always played it live for years. I don't really do covers that much, but that one, I don't know what it was. It just kind of, yeah, it was a bit of fun, and it was a cool song. But I decided to put it on the record because over the years of me playing it, it's kind of evolved into something slightly different. So it's not like the original. The original is kind of very, very simple and very amazing, So I have different sections in it that key changes key and stuff in it. So because when I do a cover song, I always want to do something a little bit different because I just don't want to do it an exact copy of the original. Because my theory is, if you want to listen to the original, go listen to the original. Don't listen to my version of the original. Listen to my version that's just slightly different. So, but yeah, it turned out pretty well. Yeah, they're yeah, great song, great band. So.
Yeah, as I said before, it's an epic rock album. There's a track called Trouble, which is a little bit different, a great bluesy track. Tell me how that track came about, and it has a different guitar tone to the other tracks. Did you use a different guitar?
Um, yeah, for that one, what did I use? I can't remember now. I think I used a telly on that one. For most of it, a telly and a Strat for some place. No, I think it was mostly a telly. I have a Smitty Telecaster, which is a custom Telecaster by a Dutch guy, which is amazing. Which I used on that. Yeah, that song's a little bit different. It nearly didn't go on the record because it's so different. But I think it's a great song, and as I said, this album is like it's like a snapshot of my life, if you want to call it. So from me, that song "Trouble" kind of represents the time I played with Andrew, which was all that kind of R&B, bluesy, soul thing. So it's a little bit like that. And it was a funny song. I wrote it with a friend of mine, Nathan, and it was we wrote it in about 20 minutes. That was it, done. So it was like, so there was something about it that just worked. Something just clicked. So I thought it was a shame not to put it on, and because most of this stuff is kind of more in the rock thing anyway, in the album. So, but sometimes it's nice to give the listener a little bit of a difference, So, and it's not too far away, I think. So, but it's a good song, and I think people like it.
Yeah. Did you use many guitars on the album?
Not too many, no. I don't. I use mostly my PRS 408, my kind of signature one, which I play all the time. That was used for the majority of things. Um, as I said, I used a Telecaster for a lot of things, and a Strat and a PRS, Starla. But most of the guitars I use, extra guitars, were more for layering up stuff. Like for example, in the track "Show Me How to Love," the chorus section was just kind of that '80s kind of clean chorus delay kind of a thing going on. I think there's 7 guitars playing it, but it's like 2 teles, 2 strats, two of my PRS and something else. But it's just to thicken it up a little bit. That's what I use a lot of guitars for, just for different sounds. Some people use guitars because they feel different or they're slightly different sound. I don't really get caught up in that too much. I just go, it's a guitar. I can get most of the sounds out of my guitar, which I use all the time. So that's why I got it designed like that, because I'm not one for changing guitars, even on gigs. My guitar tech has the easiest job on the planet. He doesn't have to do anything. So it's yeah. I have lots of guitars, probably too many, but that's well, not in comparison to some other people. I don't have that many at all. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So when you get around to playing this album live, will it be a difficult album to replicate?
No, because well, my the outset opinion in this was for me to. I wanted to create an album that sounded good on record or on CD or whatever, but didn't have so much content in it that I couldn't uh, uh, play it live, properly, So it's a lot of it is just bass, guitar, drums. Which is the standard 3-piece kind of a thing. There's certain songs like "Let Me Go" and "Trouble," which has keyboards and stuff. You kind of need it to get the vibe of those songs, the kind of more slower things. But I wanted to replicate it live in a good way, So I didn't want it to have your record version sounds brilliant, but the live version sounds like a stripped down version. I didn't want that, so I wanted to, try to find somewhere a middle ground, if you want to say it, between live and record, because I've done it in the past. I've created albums where it's been sounds huge and lots of stuff on the record, and then you go to play it live and it just sounds. It sounds a bit, yeah, light, if you want to call it. But so yeah, it's no, but it's pretty easy when you hear, like, we did a live thing for the record company, and I listened back to it and went, it just sounds like the record because there's nothing on it. So it was just the three of us playing in this big arena, and and I listened back and was like, yeah, it sounds pretty much similar to the record. So.
How's your cutoff valve? Is it easy for you to know when a project is finished?
No. But yeah, I get what you mean. This it's knowing when the step away from something is the big thing. I'm not too bad at it. I you know with albums or music, you're never happy with things. You always forever tweaking thing, but that's just a perfectionist in me, and that's why it makes me, the player that I am today. I'm always trying to improve. I'm always trying to fix things. So, but sometimes with records, you just have to walk away and it's done. And I'm not too bad with that. I think it's probably because I get fed up listening to it, and I'm like, oh, I'm done. I don't want to hear it anymore. It'll do, So, but yeah, I know what you're saying, because there's some people who don't have a cutoff valve, and just I, I find with writing songs or recording songs, the quicker they're done, the better they sound. If you have to work something over and over and over and over again, it kind of loses its, I don't know, mojo, its thing, its vibe. I don't know. It kind of loses that initial drive, that energy that you get from that excitement of, oh, I really like this song, I'll play it. So yeah, I'm not too bad.
Yeah. Is there a track on the album that is closer to your heart than others?
Um, Not really, no, because they're all kind of very, as I said, they're all personal to me in a way, but most of them are all personal to me in a way in regards to words, as I only know how to write about, personal experiences and stuff. For example, like "Just Takes Time" is based on being in a relationship, and and being in the music industry, and and trying to tell your partner that just everything, it just takes time, and we'll get there in the end. Basically, that's what you're trying to say. Don't give up, and don't run away from me. So it's all things like that. So it's all kind of personal. There's nothing really, that stands out as being that one means more to me than this one, sort of thing. So
Yeah. Is there a grand plan for Simon McBride? Do you have plans, or do you just take things as they come?
world domination is my plan. No, no, I just take things as they come. Obviously you have to plan a uh, certain parts of your life. When it comes to music and touring and stuff like that, you have to. I'm always thinking ahead, going, okay, as I said, like for next year, 2023, I'm thinking now, okay, I need to start looking at sorting out some tours or and whatnot for that, for my own thing. But at the minute, I'm just kind of taking day by day because with the Deep Purple thing, I don't know what's happening. It all depends on Steve. I could be playing till the rest of the year. I could be playing all of next year. I don't know, or I could be playing till the end of July. I don't know. We'll just have to see. So at the minute, I'm in that lovely that I'm in an amazing space where I don't have to worry about thinking too far ahead right now. So I can just take day by day. I'm not in a hurry at the minute. So, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Simon, it's been great to chat, and thanks for catching up with us.
Ah, thank you very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.